emailed the lady, she emailed me back and she goes, yeah, we don't have that all set. I was
Yeah.
surprised, but they didn't have that all set yet. I said, well, we kind of need to know what's being offered. So,
Tuesday, April 25th. Call this meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please, Holly, if you could lead us in prayer.
join me for a brief prayer. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the many blessings that you bestow upon us. And please guide us and lead us with your knowledge and wisdom as we work through making the decisions on what's best for the citizens of Seneca County. And we bless all those in attendance and all those who serve. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Roll call.
Commissioner Frischman, Commissioner Thomas,
Here.
Commissioner Stacy.
Here.
Minutes. I'll accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session from Thursday, April 20th, and the written index accompanying it.
So moved.
Second. Roll call. No?
All in favor,
All
say
in
aye.
favor. Okay. All in favor.
Aye.
Aye. All right, any adjustments for today?
I'll bring up Thursday's schedule.
Okay. Anything, Holly?
No.
Okay. Old business. Do you want to give a joint justice update?
Yeah. We have Justice Center meeting, leadership team meeting on Thursday at noon out of the Public Safety Building. We'll continue to go through things. The most recent, issue 16, dated 4/20, sidewalk superintendent, just was received today, so that'll get posted soon. Talks about things happening in the next week, which is the week that we're in, since this is now the 25th, 24th, whatever today is. The 25th. Yeah, installing exterior studs, exterior sheathing on first and second floors, interior studs on the second and third floor. Ductwork continues, plumbing, HVAC, all that stuff on the second floor. And set roof curbs, it says. So, of course, we've had the topping out ceremony last week, so we've passed that point. Building closed in by the end of May, and there'll be brick veneer to start in May. So, at the point, my understanding, the point when we have the cupola, and the cupola with Lady Justice on it, as it will top the building. When that goes up the building, everything underneath is still in construction mode. We're gonna finish from the top down. Not really, but that's what it's gonna kind of look like for a while. But so that'll be forthcoming, and we're still targeting June 10th for the construction tours. Probably early afternoon. That's got to be solidified, but we're looking at a 1 to 3 so that it doesn't start until the farmers markets are over. That's in the morning, so that's still the target. And before we know it, we will be there.
And Thursday at noon, we have our Joint Justice Center leadership team
Yeah,
at...
I mentioned that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, did you say that? Okay. And where are we at on the annex? Are we to engineering on that, drawings?
We just reviewed those at the end of last week, so I'll be ready to present those changes to you guys so I can give the architect a go forward to get prices.
So we're all the way through that kind of
Yep.
design
Right.
process,
Yep.
it's just getting back from the architect.
Yep, he sent the final proposal that Jay's worked out with the architect, and I'm ready to present it to you, but I want your okay before I have him start with prices. So,
All right, anything else on the Joint Justice Center? Okay. Ohio History Connection Grant. In our timeline, we laid out that we would make decisions today because we have to turn in our final on April 28th to Ohio History Connection. So we did receive a number of applicants. And so for my purposes, I put it together in a presentation. You know, we spent a lot of time thinking about this. At the end, I have my recommendation. Holly and I have not discussed this at all, so we'll have to go through with that and have our conversation. But you know, this kind of gives a synopsis of what we received. It's the
Wait, hold on. Okay.
And we do have feedback from Commissioner Kirschner too?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because he knew he was gonna be gone today, and he said he would make sure he left it with you, so.
So, our museum, Seneca County Museum, has a number of physical projects, including repair of the carriage house, some local history, education, miscellaneous exterior stuff, miscellaneous interior, some wiring and different things, painting, cosmetics. Fostoria Area Historical Society had a request for $1,500 to do volume 6 of their history. Scipio Republic had a request for $800 for display cases. The Ritz Theater had a number of repairs that they needed, including terracotta repair, box office renovation, painting the fire tower, rehabbing the front door, and repainting the sign, as well as replacing the original windows. Some pictures that they included. Top right is the windows. There you can see that's actually the original windows there. And when he says about rebrassing the door, I'm just glad he attached a photo of that because I didn't understand what that actually meant. So, Seneca County Park District has a project at West Lodi Union Church. It needs a new roof, siding, plaster, repairs to the front door. Fostoria Rail Preservation Society needs new signs for their various entities. They have the Iron Triangle and the station and different things, and their signs are.
And it's kind of helped define the trail for through.
Yeah, to define, connect
connection
them
of
all.
those
Yeah,
things,
exactly.
Yeah.
Spiva Manley House, this project, they're requesting $50,000 towards stabilization of the properties down here on Madison Street, and there was a number of letters of support for that, and I think there's consensus that it's a good project that should be undertaken, but I'm not sure it's there yet. And then a number of letters came in, and we heard some comment here in our chamber about supporting creating video history in Seneca County, and specifically mentioned by the Glass Museum, the Gallery Alliance, and the Fostoria Area Historical Society, as well as our own Seneca County Museum. So, with all that said, after I gave it some thought, this would be my motion, Holly, and obviously we need to tweak this for your thoughts. But my recommendation would be that the Seneca County Park District, $5,000 to West Lodi, the Rail Preservation, $4,000 towards their signs, Republic Historic Society, $1,000 for their cases, the theater, $25,000 towards their renovations, and then $15,000 to our Seneca County Museum to work with all the museums in the county to create video history, and they would work with some kind of private contractor. And what I like about it is it gives us geographic distribution: Fostoria, Tiffin, Republic, West Lodi. So it covers our whole county, and it gives us some of this education piece with the videos. And I know Fostoria did videos, and they're interested in doing more, and Seneca County Museum's interested in doing videos. So, I guess that's a point of departure. If you have any thoughts or want to tweak that, I'm completely open.
Okay. have you share Commissioner Kirschner's and then I'll share my thoughts?
I can do that.
Just so, otherwise we'll all three have our.
I know we all have a number of requests before us, and certainly they are all worthy of consideration. If it is possible, I would like to see us establish a trust administered by a group whose purpose is historic preservation and education for Seneca County. It could be comprised of members of the Historical Society, Glass Museum, Ritz representatives, and museum representatives, and others that would consider projects of historical significance. I believe the money could be managed through the Tiffin Community Foundation. I read in detail the information, and I believe this would fit their criteria. But I know this decision needs to be made by the 28th. They will not be back until the 27th. So whatever my fellow commissioners decide won't be second guessed by me. Thank you.
And I do have to wonder, although I don't know that because I didn't call them, if we told them we have lots of projects and we're fine tuning what we're turning in, but we're gonna have plenty, if they would give us a day or two longer, but that's to be determined. I do not know that, not that we do or don't need that time, but we might. I greatly, as we all do, appreciate all of the wonderful ideas and the emphasis of all the, volunteers. I mean, the folks who came and talked to us, I think there was 11 at the meeting we had that had causes to champion and needs for money, and it's through the sweat equity that those folks are invested in those organizations and volunteer their time to do that. And I had to note, I'll tie this in, but, because I didn't listen otherwise, but in this Charity Donate Help volunteer little thing that was in the AT Saturday, there's a nice spread about the museum in there and about the volunteers and thanking them, and so we can never do that enough to make all of these organizations a key part of our communities. I looked at it as I went through the list, and as I made my notes and stars and checks and asterisks and question marks and whatever, I came up with a list that, and I think it still accomplishes something, gave a little to everybody. And what was neat was in the end, when we got down this breakdown of a list, is that there was one specific that was a lump sum total amount greater than the amount we have to do anything with. But there was enough others that had some things that I think we could make a real difference in helping them if they got some of their monies, even though they listed more than one thing, including our own museum listing things. And so I had come up with indicating 13, and I don't have mine typed up, 13,600 for the video request. And I made one assumption on that. We had a nice quote from an organization very capable in Fostoria that does these, and said that talked about 6,800 to do 20 venues with that, and defining how that would be done and all that stuff. And so with the other video request that was more on the historical markers, if it was about the same dollar figure, so I made that assumption, and there was no dollar figure specifically with that. I think it was yours, Mary, but I think that you could assume that could be done for at least that money or less. So I doubled that, put that at 13,600 for those videos and historical maps and that kind of stuff. Then the 1,500 Fostoria's Volume 6 that took the video stuff, because I think that's important documentation, and I think that would be well worth the time. And you engage 20 organizations with the one, and then you get all those historical marker. In fact, we don't have that map, we don't have that listing done where people could just follow it easily. West Lodi from the Park District for the church there, I picked off the roof thinking if you don't fix the roof, you're gonna have a lot of other problems. I thought that was probably the most critical thing on that list. That was 5,000. The rail signs was 5,000. Scipio, the case for their historical artifacts there in Republic was 800. The Seneca County Museum, I totaled up just the top 4 items listed on their exterior. They had an exterior and interior list, and the educational things and a lot of things listed. But I looked at we had the top 4 projects on that exterior list they had. That was 4,800. If we looked at possibly, Spiva Manley House was one that, there was a phase 1, phase 2, both dollar figures above what we could do with all of this money, and that'd be one organization getting the money. And they're in the early stages of that. So kind of fits in along the lines of what Commissioner Kirschner said, although I don't know the legalities of how you do that, I think it can be done. But if we gave them, if you look at 25% of their $55,000 project, you know, it comes out to 13,000 something. So let's say $14,000 towards that. That 25%, if they can leverage that as startup money, as starting, they starting something at Tiffin Charitable. I wasn't thinking that, but he mentioned that. Or as match money towards something bigger in grant dollars that they can go for, that would be extremely beneficial to help them get things moving. I like the tie-in that was mentioned, and it was mentioned, I think, also with the historical markers about working with Convention and Visitors Bureau. And what I don't know is if anybody actually had talked with them about any of these, and maybe, and that's why I wonder about whether we can get there today or we should. Should we have some communications with Brittany a little bit on some of this? Because maybe there's some things out there we're not aware of, I don't know. That came to a total of $44,700. And then I looked at that balance, another $5,300 to the Ritz, and there's a number of things that they have. Now, I know they have some other funding mechanisms that maybe some of the other organizations absolutely do not have any access to any kind of strings like that. But again, all key aspects, and they're the ones that came forward. There's other great projects in the community, but these are the folks that came forward that.
You can only
that
shoot the ducks that are flying.
Yeah, that submitted material to us, and so I think it needs to go within, somewhere within this. I don't know that the idea of some type of startup investment, I just think the idea of making a difference sooner is appealing more to me, but if it helped the Spiva Manley House to have some money to start to use as match or to invest for the future, if that can be done, I
So-
like that idea.
I think we agree on a lot of this. So the video piece, you said 13,600 and 1,500 for Fostoria. You know, that's 15,000
Right.
essentially.
Yeah,
So I mean, are you all right if we put in 15,000 for video history?
yeah, and again, that's, you know, with the assumption that, and that was under the Museum Gallery Alliance, about identify and record historic properties, the historic markers, and that was what was written up in that, Mary, and you know, like I said, without the dollar figure, thinking some volunteers, but knowing that there's an organization that said they could do it for 20 sites, thinking that that could be worked out.
Yeah, there's a number of vendors that have expressed interest. There's a good one in Fostoria, there's the local guys here, and there's the Katie that did the St. Joe's Church. So
Yeah.
I think there's finding vendors to do that will be not challenging.
Right.
And then the 5,000 for the
The roof.
the roof at renovations at West Lodi. So that's 20. Scipio Republic, I guess I put that in as 1,000 just to keep my numbers even, but we agree on that. So it really becomes,
If we list that at
and
eight,
in the
we
rail
should list that at-
preservation, I have it at 4, you have, go ahead.
I had it at the 5.
Yeah,
As I say, if we put them to the actual versus rounding them up,
yeah, that's fine.
just, I mean, I'm not saying everybody, you rounded, they probably rounded it up in giving us the estimates. I mean, that's how I would do it.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
So that's,
800, and
yeah.
then, you know,
So that
Rail
gives us-
Preservation Society, you wanted that at 5.
yeah,
So I think we agree on that. And then my concern with the Spiva Manley House, I think it's a great project, and I think it's going to become really important as we move active transportation forward, because it's going to be right at the hub of the trail network. So I think it's going to be an important project. I'm just not sure that it's ready for prime time. I don't think there's a 501c3 formed, so I think it's too early in that project's life for us to be investing in it. I think it's conceptual that, you know, a great project, and you know, I would encourage them to come back to us, you know, at a future date. But I just don't think it's ready for prime time with this money. I mean, so the theater, I think, is ready for prime time. You know, they're a proven entity. They have obvious need by given the pictures. If they had unlimited funding, obviously those things would be fixed. The original windows, so So that's where I came down on that piece of it. But nothing against the relative projects, but
Yeah. I mean, I guess I wonder if we can, it comes out, if we didn't round them up, if we left them at the other numbers, 25.9 for those first, the 3 video projects, really. The Tiffin, the Museum Gallery Alliance, the, one down here, it was underneath Fostoria Rail, all museums promotional, and then his Fostoria's Volume 6, West Lodi Roof, Fostoria Rail Signs, and Scipio Case, that's 25.9. I mean, I don't know if we want to commit part for now and then ask some of these questions. I mean, I really am interested, even though that, part of that would tie into talking to her too, but if talking to them, and I wish I would have thought of that before 9 o'clock last night, but talking to the Visitors Bureau about things or finding out a little more if the Spiffy Manley has something else set up besides just the initial investors who are buying or bought the property. And like, could they take money, and if they needed to add a little to it to have the 15,000 to start something at Tiffin Charitable, is that acceptable from the Ohio History Connection to allow that? Because they said we could use it as match and that kind of thing. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Charlene, but if you know anything about if that is or isn't, you may not have checked into that, because I know you're anticipating there might be some handoff coming your way, but.
Yeah, I did some major anticipation. Nikki called yesterday, and I was in with our auditor from the ODSA for CDBG all day yesterday, day. But Jen was able to relay information to Nikki. Nikki was able to relay to Jen, who got it to me. Nikki sent me everything, and I went through all of the proposals that came in. I also looked at the requirements from the Ohio History Connection, and then I emailed the Ohio History Connection a few questions. I got a hold of our point of contact there. She was out of the office, but I was told to email her. She'll get right back to you. So I did. So when I went through the list, I did it by category qualifications, which is how I would do anything that I'm looking at for grant funds. Does it categorically qualify? When I looked at that, I thought, well, I also thought we want to spread the wealth, because I agree with everybody here that we've got money, let's help as many people as we can, even if it's a small amount. I did look at the Spively Manor House, and I looked at it almost the same way Shane did. And I hadn't talked to Shane, so please no preconceived notions there by anybody. Yeah. But it was basically, I looked at it and I thought, this is in the conceptual phase. It's not in the we need money to do it now phase. They're just getting things started up. So I would say that in the future, it looks like a great project for the Ohio History Connection for the Bricks and Mortar Grant, as opposed to using the funds that we have now. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but that's kind of how I was thinking of it. I then was really concerned about the West Lodi Church. There's a couple things that I thought were great in their proposal. There were a couple things I was like, ooh, do we touch it or not? Because that is a historical church to us locally. When I talked to our point of contact at the Ohio History Connection, Amanda Terrell is her name, she really gave me good feedback on that and said, first, we want to try to get that church on the National Register. So we want to work with the Parks District to get that church on the National Register of Historical Sites. Because she said it sounds like it qualifies, we need to try to get it on there. Because then they'll qualify for other funding. So when I looked at that, I said, okay, if I'm thinking of this as, what if this is marked as a historical site? How do you deal with rehabbing a historical site? And I know a little bit about what goes into that. Siding on the 3 sides means you're changing the facade. And you don't want to do that to a historical entity.
Qualify then.
New plaster and paint for the interior has to be matching the time period. So kind of, I was like standoffish on that. So I asked her about new roof and repair front door and entrance. She said new roof is a great idea on there. Definitely look at the new roof. She said, I'd want to see pictures of the front door and know what the repairs are that are needed. I know that it needs some front door work. Shane and I have talked about the front door. Both of us are a little bit into going and seeing all the things in the county, and we've beaten me to getting over there, and I'm not happy with him for it. but. And he was explaining the front door to me, and it does need some work. I've talked to Roland Zimmerman about the front door as well, because he told me how to get in and to look at things in there if I wanted to check out the site. And the front door does need work. So I think those are two viable options. I came back through and looked at some other things on here. You know, is there funding? Is there not funding? How would we do this? Would we set up a trust account? And a trust really doesn't feel like the right way to word it. We would be setting up a preservation fund. And if we set up a preservation fund, whatever we use those preservation funds for has to meet one of these three categories that are in the grant application. So
even if we gave it towards something and they wanted to, they can't take it and
just do whatever.
put it in the different charitable, what has people managing that stuff, they can't put it there on hold.
I would say you could potentially put it there as the Tiffin Charitable being your managing entity, but then you're going to have to pay them probably a fee to manage, I would assume, because that's what they do, is they charge a fee to manage their fund.
You don't know, but I assume maybe.
I would assume that. I don't have anybody here to ask.
I talked to them yesterday, actually, and they came in, and, you know, they said they're more than willing to help in any way possible. They were concerned that we had already announced a process, and that we should continue with that process, and that process was to grant the funds. And they didn't want to disrupt that.
I
So,
think that's the wisest decision. I mean, we have enough potential projects here to grant those funds out. If you choose to set it up in a historical preservation fund, and they're going to manage the fund, they need to be intimately aware of what the requirements are. Because you don't want the Ohio History Connection to come back to you and say, well, you put it in a preservation fund, and then you used it for redecorating the Ritz, just to say, right?
Yeah,
Used it for what we call redecorating. That's not an eligible activity with those funds. So now you owe us money.
yeah, the
Because
county would be on the hook for that, because
Yeah.
the money was coming to us.
So you don't want the county to be on the hook for that. I like the idea of doing it, but on the other hand, when I look at the list, there's plenty of activities here. And I did the same thing as Holly. I'm a scribbler, writer, asterisk star, question mark. And I have quite a few questions, and I would like to see if they would grant us a couple more days, maybe Wednesday of next week, to get this stuff into them would be nice. Just because if you want to do the video history and the way markers, and it was talked about Spively Manor being kind of the hub of that in one of the proposals, we don't see anything that is actual confirmation that they're going to be the hub of that, and
yeah.
we need that.
My proposal would be that our museum, our experts would be the lead on that, working with the rest of the museums.
I
That's
like
my-
that
Does she have
idea.
the time though? We've got one I mean, just.
Yeah, I talked to her, they're very excited about it.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, I didn't talk to her, but I know
They are.
she's
but-
working
Mark-
hard in the inventory and all the
Yeah.
program stuff she's
Yep.
doing, she is busy.
No, I talked to her yesterday, and they're excited about it. I talked to Mark. He's you know, one of our chief volunteers, obviously. He's excited about it. So
So could we possibly do that, ask I mean, and if not, I mean, worst case scenario, we got 24 hours, we can call a meeting, but we have a meeting planned, we could make it a regular meeting instead of just work session Thursday, which is the day it's due, and hopefully, but if we ask them, say, you know, we're gonna have a preliminary list if you want it Thursday, or possibly, and would they give us time to, you know, I think if we told them our process of how we wanted to use the money and how we put it out there for anybody to come with proposals, I think they would applaud that effort in trying to help these historical groups. I mean, they know that money's designated to Seneca County. I mean, I'm not gonna say we're just gonna keep delaying it, I don't wanna do that at all.
No.
But, I don't think we're gonna lose the money, but I think if we show progress, we show what we've done and what we're working towards, because I think that's key, is verifying some of that, because maybe then, once we would decide, we need the people who put forth the proposal from the groups and how we fund it to powwow quickly and determine on some of it, because that app going forward, ours is gonna be multiple pages, not one. And if we're
We've
gonna
got some
submit,
work to
we've
do.
got 10 projects, is it 10 pieces of paper, because it's brief, but they're 10 individual.
Yeah, 10 individual projects that we're gonna have to put in here. I have no problem emailing Amanda and asking her if we can have a little bit more time.
Yeah, I don't
That
see
doesn't-
that it's in the cards. I mean, I'm ready to make a decision and handle this. You know, we set a process and we set a timeline, and I think we have all the information. So I'm ready to make a decision.
I'm,
So I
I'm
just
not.
think,
I'm not,
I
I'm really
think
not.
we're,
But,
I think we
no
have all the
disrespect.
information. We set a timeline. You know, I think we stick to it. I don't know why we, you know, we knew April 28th was the date, and I don't know why we can't just be decisive.
And if we have enough, I mean, I think we have enough to meet the 50,000. That's not a
Easily.
problem. Even with, you know, if you look at my highlighted, scribbled up mess, I have it added up that it's enough for 50,000 out of those. And it was quite entertaining since I never talked to anybody. I did this all on my own. Mine are fairly well lining up with all of you. I mean, Mike's thought in a roundabout way with what you guys were thinking, it is rounding out. But I would say my thought process is the sooner we can get the no, the sooner I can get it in.
Right.
And if I know today, tomorrow I'm gonna be in Columbus all day.
Yeah, but you said you'd be willing to email her and ask her
I
if
would
she'd
be
take it
willing.
later.
I would be willing to, but that doesn't mean they're gonna grant it to us. Cause when I talked to them yesterday, they said, we know it's due Thursday, and we know questions are gonna be flying in over the next 3 days.
Well, if we email and ask them if we would give them our preliminary listing Thursday and accompanying paperwork would forthcome next week, if that would be an issue, we could still make the determination to have it, right, full board meeting Thursday
Because it's
to
not due till
solidify the
Friday.
list. And the paperwork's due Friday.
Mhm.
Paperwork's due Friday.
I mean, I gotta believe that they would work with us on that.
I don't
As long as
risk
we
it.
have a list.
Yeah.
I just think there's a couple things that'd be worth checking out and making sure that we're not all wrong on, I mean, I think that's great that the museum wants to work through that, but I guess the ones who submitted that are they okay with that? Do they know that? Are they comfortable with that being the way? I mean, there's just some things to make sure it's all gonna flow well together. I don't wanna, I appreciate the fact we're gonna make a decision, move on, but we're only talking by 2 days just to make it Thursday if that's, I guess that's where I think we need to be.
I think if I have a preliminary list today, that'd be great.
But that committed of all 50,000, then I don't get to ask some questions I want to ask. That's my fault, maybe but, and even if I don't look with the Spiva Manley being off of the radar for, you know, reasons stated, there's still some determination then, because I had it in there, of that monies and how it's gonna be used. You know, because that, you know, was a chunk that I had separated.
I need a whiteboard.
So,
Cause I'm
well,
starting
I don't
to
know, I
get,
mean,
there's
if
a
we're gonna,
lot.
I guess,
There's probably a lot up there. Cause really what we need, I think a decision can be reached today, but I also think if you feel, I mean, this is all your guys' choice. I'm just here to do what you want me to do, right? That's what Charlene does, what you tell her to do. And, if you were to say, hey, you know, this is what we preliminarily see, but I got questions here, I got questions here, I got questions here. If you guys agree, you agree. If you want me to find more info, we'll find more info. It's due Friday. I can ask a question today. We can ask questions today.
right, and if we can ask the question, if it can come in, and if not, you know, we'll have to roll up the sleeves and do what we can do, but I've gotta believe they would work with us a little bit, and then we could have the discussion
I just gotta work this
and
out.
get through this. I mean, we could spend the next 20 minutes doing this, but I'm just not sure that we wanna make the decision today. And if we don't wanna make the decision today, then I don't know that, this won't be a bad exercise, but I don't wanna.
I want to make the decision today. We said we were going to make the decision today. I'm prepared to make the decision today. Yes.
2 questions. All of a sudden, I'm hearing the word Friday, whereas before, everything was Thursday. So is it due Thursday or is it due Friday?
28th.
28.
Okay, so that's Thursday.
Friday.
All right,
It's
so
Friday.
under your
It's
scenario,
It's Friday.
Friday,
27th
Thursday's the
is Thursday.
27th.
oh, my apologies.
Yeah, I think we inadvertently said Thursday somewhere along the lines, because we have a meeting Thursday.
Okay,
That was-
well, so under your scenario, Holly, what you're saying is that if the answer is no, that you can't have an extension, you would change Thursday from a work session to a regular session, so you could vote?
Correct.
Okay,
Sorry, my eyes aren't as good as they used to be.
thank you.
I think where we've agreed is 800 to Republic, 5,000 to Fostoria, 5,000
Fostoria Rail.
Yeah.
if you-
and 5,000 to the Park District, and 15,000 for video
Which is,
history.
Tiffin Glass Museum and the Museum Gallery Alliance.
Does that include the wayfinding?
Yeah, but, well, the way they're written up, but again, the one didn't have the dollar figures with it, it was a lump sum and then included some for Spiva Manley. So, yeah, I mean,
Slash markers, right?
right, which is why I'm thinking we need to, even if this is the direction we wanna go, we've got some questions asked so that what gets written up can be clearer than mud.
So Holly has physical work to the museum, and, you know, my view on that is that's our obligation and that's our normal course of business, is to take care of a county-owned business, a building. That's why I didn't include anything for the Seneca County Museum, because that's our
Yeah.
obligation.
Is
Right,
that-
and we have made a lot of investments, and we've had another wonderful foundation that has made a lot of investments in the museum. I just thought since these were Ohio History Connection or monies, that's a way to help us with that, as this capital monies we got with out of the state budget helped advance some projects that were kind of like a roof on West Lodi, you know, some things that were more critical to get done. I thought that was a way to do it. Our general revenue funds, there's more hands out for money than we have money to hand out.
Right, understand.
So I'm just trying to leverage those for where we've got lots of
But
things
my
happening.
reluctance to put them in is not relative to the value of the physical structure there. It's actually the opposite. It's, you know, I value that we own that building and we have to take care of it, so, you know, it's our obligation by owning it, so.
My question is, on that building, doing the rehabilitation work on it, is that building is not listed on the National Register of Historic Places. I know that because I checked that, a bunch of stuff
We don't
yesterday.
want that. I mean, our projects will cost us twice as much if it was.
Is it eligible for listing?
But if, like West Lodi,
It's eligible for listing.
okay, no, but my question is, like West Lodi, if we go ahead and fix the roof, that's not gonna make it ineligible for being, if you did the siding, they potentially say, well, if you want it eligible, you're gonna have to change all that.
Yeah, your siding won't meet the historical requirements.
Right, so, I mean, the roof is kind of critical to the fact of the building. Now, with our museum, and if we didn't know we were gonna go out there, we could have had Tanya come, but, if it was a National Historic, a lot of things we've done would cost us a lot more money to get done because of the extra hoops. And I'm not saying those aren't worth it for National Historic Registered Places, but, it is not one.
But do you think it would be eligible for?
I would wanna know if the Museum Advisory Board wants it to be.
I don't say we have to do it. I say, would it potentially be a building that is
Because-
eligible for
Because
it?
none of these projects are making them eligible. I mean, no one's charged with, that was eligible money to take something to make it a national, to get it on the registry. That you're allowed to use the money for that, but I don't think that was anybody's project that came forward.
That's just how I'm reading it, the literal of it.
Right, yeah, you can, but nobody asked for that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think I missed anything in it.
No, because the very first thing under protect and preserve historic places is rehabilitate a property listed in or eligible for, listed or eligible, for the National Register of Historic Places following the Secretary of Interior standards, blah, blah, blah. So when I asked about the building in West Lodi, the Park District building, the reason I asked is because I knew it wasn't listed, but did they think it would be a potential candidate? The answer is yes, it's a potential candidate. So therefore, it could be a potential candidate. So we don't have to list it, we're just saying
Right.
it could be. My question on the museum building is that, do we think that building potentially could be? Is there some history to it that somebody could shoot off to me in like 4 or 5 sentences that says this is what that building was? I can send it to our contact and say, what do you think about this building?
Okay, but
She can do that in a heartbeat.
Well,
Tell
yeah,
me a
she
little
did
bit of
in a
history
heartbeat,
about that building.
I guess for us to know, but not for regarding the monies.
We would need to know if it could be eligible to be able to do it under category 1 for the protection of the building. Does that
But
make
otherwise-
sense?
Yeah, but otherwise, if they're not asking for that, you still can do improvements to the building. You can't do new construction, but you
Can't-
could still do
Not the way we
Repairs.
read it. We read it as, go ahead.
Read.
Yes.
Right,
the
like
way-
I am, right?
Like you're reading it. You can only do structure repair to a building if it is listed or eligible to be
For
listed.
Oh,
Like
that's
we've got work to do on our log cabin, but we looked up the requirements and it's moved from its original site, so that makes it ineligible to be listed. So we didn't come to you with a request for money for any of the roofing work we need to do, because according to the way that's written, it doesn't qualify to be listed as a national registry, so it didn't qualify for any of that money.
Doesn't mean it
Qualify,
has to.
yeah, doesn't say that you have to do that,
It
it
just
just says it has to be
eligible.
eligible.
It's on page 2 at the top.
Okay, may I interrupt?
Oh, sure.
The church at West Lodi, my friend Kay Miller has done a lot of history and work on that. If you need any information, she would be a good source.
Mr. Zimmerman actually gave us a great
Oh, okay.
breakdown on the history. I was able to provide that history information, so I knew that it would be a potentially eligible spot. But I checked to make sure it would be potentially eligible. I
Okay.
didn't check on the museum. I
Yeah.
can
It
check on
says
the
in or
museum.
eligible, rehabilitated property listed in or eligible for listing in the national. So I don't read it as it has to be.
No, it has to be in or it has to be eligible. We don't have the determination that it's eligible to be listed. So I'm all for doing whatever we need to do. Again, your decisions, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate and tell you in or eligible. So we need to find out if it's eligible to be listed.
You know, kind of, yeah.
Princess Gold. So if Tanya can tell me that it's eligible, that it would be an eligible property, or give me like 5 sentences that say this is the history of the building, I can submit that over to the Ohio History Connection and say, would this potentially be an eligible building? And then they can come back and say, sounds like it would be, what are you wanting to do? So if you guys like the idea of doing a couple things there, I'd be glad to submit that information to. You know, it's always better to ask before we submit the application, right? It's that way we know. And we've got 24-2 left outside of what you guys had discussed. In a
You have
match.
money for,
We have the-
you have money for the
And
rent.
I don't know that we're gonna get to a decision today, because I'm not game to second the motion, because I think I'd like to have the ask, and if, I'd like to take the gamble that we have to rush it Thursday, and get through this to get questions answered, because I think in time, we aren't gonna accomplish it in 15, 20 minutes here, and
I don't think so.
we've got somebody coming at 11.
So, the Ritz, what's your skinny on that?
Crossed it off the list.
You what?
I crossed it completely off the list because my thought process was it was not in the National Register, and there could I think for the Ritz there was other funding I saw available potentially for it. So I thought that the two that automatically went off of my list because they didn't feel like they met a way to make it easier were the Spively Manor and that one. But again, not Charlene's decision at all.
Well, that's a qualitative.
your input. I mean,
quali-
it's
Qualitative reference, that's not necessarily a,
Yeah, I think if there were a couple small things that you wanted to do there, I think that'd be great. If you said, I would not say painting of the Ritz Theater sign would be one, because that's more of a redecorating. And I always want to look at that not eligible. So reconstruction, redecorating, or moving, definitely not eligible. So maybe the main entrance renovation might be good. Box office, if they're going to keep it historically correct, might be good. I mean, it's up to you guys, and I can always, if you, and however this plays out today, if you have a list of questions I am glad to submit those list of questions because I want to know too before we submit it. So if you were to say, okay, Charlene, here's our list, and you guys have today to get me your list, you know, and y'all call me whenever you need to, I can put that in. I got no problem. Because I would ask the questions before I even submit it on some of it. I like, does this make sense or does it not? That's why I asked about the Lodi one, because I wanted to make sure on that. I was just doing my own research for me. But if you guys come back and say, okay, we've got 24-2 and we want to split that between the museum and the Ritz, that could be really good. I mean, each of them get 12,100, and if each of them qualify for rehabilitation work, we just need to know what they can spend 12,100 on each for rehabilitation work. So, your choice. You tell me what you want me to do. I follow your direction. I just needed the numbers in front of me to know. So that works.
Yeah.
Or do you want that open for your guys' reference right now?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the 24-2 goes to the Ritz, and then that'll be my motion.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay. No second, we'll move on. Any other old business?
You bring up the Thursday session, or is that the review space?
It can be either.
Okay, can we plan so we have done as much as we can? We can always cancel a meeting, that it's an active meeting.
Change it from work
I know we
session to
have
work session.
stacked meetings on Thursday as well. We've got at 11 o'clock, and we've got, that we can't move because the previous two land bank meetings have been canceled, and then we have a new. So we could do the work session at 9:30, regular meeting at 10.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you guys remember, you knew that the land bank hasn't been able to meet the last couple of months, and they were really relying on this one because we're coming down to a deadline
We've got to
in
get,
May.
yeah, we got to be.
It is at 11 o'clock, and that's been on our agenda well before we decided to do work sessions. Not that I want to limit it, we can move the work sessions up if you need to. I just wanted you guys to remember that we really needed the land bank meeting, and it is at 11. It's here, so it's not like we would have to go anywhere. But I just wanted to make sure you knew, and then we do have our Justice Center meeting at noon. Is the only clarifications or information I wanted you guys to know, because
So we don't really need a work session.
No, we could forego a work session, I guess.
yeah, I mean,
Just a regular meeting.
I haven't got anything back from anybody to say if they needed stuff on the work session agenda, if that helps.
Well, we have scheduled April 27th as the day we have an IT
right.
report.
Yeah, and if we
So
have
what's
that
the
ready, we can do that. in the
Status of that.
We can do that in the regular business meeting, an update there versus work session. And,
I'm just curious how comprehensive it'll be.
well, we're not gonna come forward if it's not ready. We've gotta have, and we got another meeting today, which we've all been doing our research to, having conversations and meetings with various people and pulling together information, so hopefully we're able to finish the outline we've started to bring on Thursday.
Okay.
But whether it's regular meeting or work session doesn't matter.
Because
to
that
me.
could be a load if you're ready to give a full report. It
Right,
could
but
be
I'm not
as far
gonna,
as
but I'm
time.
not gonna expect action or recommendation. I'm gonna make the recommendation, but I expect to have questions and things that we're gonna have to go back and check with the committee on and continue
Yeah.
working through. I just will want the endorsement and need the endorsement of this board eventually. I don't expect it on the day I hand you the recommendation, so.
Yeah,
I
I
don't think that's fair.
trying to budget how much time that we may need, whether we should start it at 9:30 or 10 maybe. If this is the only action item, then 10 o'clock's probably fine. If we're gonna have a full IT discussion, then we might wanna get up a little earlier. So that's the
Well,
initial question.
We don't have any other work session items that we're going to talk about on Thursday. Okay.
Nothing I'm aware of.
And not that I know, Mike hasn't said anything that I
Yeah.
know of.
Yeah, well then, we can include, like I said, it doesn't have to be work session for that, it can be regular session and be an old business agenda item, and I'll move the
So, 10 o'clock? Enough?
We will have this discussion and then the IT discussion.
All right, good deal. All right, new business. You want to do the resolutions?
Yep. Let's see. A resolution authorizing an appropriation adjustment within the M&R fund. He's moving $25,000 from his diesel to his contract projects. I have a resolution authorizing a fund advance repayment from the Bulletproof Vest Grant Fund. They're repaying $9,129.78 to the general fund. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations to the ambulance service fund for $6,000. Resolution setting time, date, and place to receive sealed bids for asphalt projects located at 3040 South State Route 100 and 3210 South State Route 100. This will be Tuesday, May 30th, 2017 at 10:30 a.m. here in our office. And it looks like this is the parking lots for the sheriff's office and the engineer's office. The other two she's left off here. I think she wants to just getting close to the season and wanted to get it set up so we would have a price and then decide after we get the bids. whether we
So
want to move forward.
procedurally, we've approved the moving of the money. This is the opening of the bid, and then we can
Decide
decide
after.
whether we.
Want to move forward with that or not. Yep. I have resolution authorizing support for the amendment to House Bill 49 to reduce the state statutory minimum wind turbine setback distance from property lines. If you want to mention anything about that.
You do want to,
Well, we can do it in discussion.
Yeah,
Yep.
Go ahead.
yeah.
Resolutions setting time, date, and place to receive sealed bids for the Seneca 2017 Seneca County Chip Seal Project. That will be for Tuesday, May 16th at 10:15 a.m. here in our office. A resolution authorizing a contractor agreement with First Insurance Group of the Midwest, doing business for consulting and brokerage services pertaining to, but not limited to, medical prescription drug spending accounts for Seneca County. What this is Corporate One has engaged in a new company and changing the name. It's still doing business as Corporate One Benefits, but it is now under this Midwest Group, First Insurance Group of the Midwest. So finishing out that contract, but we needed to get the language changed until that contract's up. A resolution authorizing the Columbia Gas of Ohio easement for the meter upgrade services at 109 South Washington Street, Tiffin. The Columbia Gas and our prosecutor Derek Devine, John Logston went through this thoroughly. Sounds like Columbia Gas is going through and going to do that with most all buildings downtown, and they currently need the driveway that goes in between the Hare Academy and the RTA building is not technically an alley, it is our driveway property, so that's why they needed an easement, and they need to get it into the Hare Academy to put in the new service. I have a resolution authorizing the mutual aid agreement between Norwalk Area Health Services, doing business as North Central EMS and Seneca EMS. That was an agreement we started middle last year. They finally got all of the townships and villages, Village of Green Springs, Pleasant Township, Adams Township, all to sign, and we just got back last week, just basically saying if they need, North Central needs us in that area, that we're coming, which we have been since they signed the contract. It's just making it official, so it's in writing. They wanted that, so.
Gotcha.
And that's all I have.
Just a couple things. One, the contract on, with Burns and his group.
Yes.
So, is the new Midwest Inc., that fulfills the existing contract with them?
Yes.
Yes.
And so is that part of the First Federal Group now, the Midwest Inc., or is this a separate?
First Insurance Group of Midwest Inc. It's the full name is First Insurance Group of Midwest Inc.
Right, so Corporate One sold to First Fed, and I'm just trying to understand who our contract is with. Is it a subsidiary of First Federal, or?
It says First Insurance Group of Midwest doing business as Corporate One Benefits Agency. So.
Is that the umbrella agency that sold to First Federal? Or?
Ron explained it to me, but I don't know what all he said now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
But that he said essentially it's a name change and they're joining
Right.
another group that's also a very community line-based group. He emphasized that.
Yeah.
yeah, I just didn't know who we were doing business with.
Yeah, the
If it's
First
First
Insurance,
Federal.
we'll still be doing business with Ron. Ron and his girls are staying there. They've
Right.
just been bought out by this company. So, but they will still be, all the information we get will still be under Corporate One. I'm not sure of his contract, how long Corporate One will stay at doing business as, but that's how he explained it to me. And that's how it's listed in the contract, is that they, this First Insurance Group of Midwest, doing business as Corporate One Benefits.
So was it your understanding that First Insurance Group of the Midwest is owned by First Federal Bank?
First Federal Bank?
I don't know
That's
anything
who
about
they
the bank. You know, who they-
That's what they sold to.
That I don't know.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. And then the authorization of support for House Bill 49. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, and I think maybe Holly does as well. We had some landowners come forward, and Representative Reineke come forward and ask us to help them get setbacks reduced back to historic levels. There's an amendment in the House bill right now that would set the setbacks at 1.2 times the turbine height from a property line or a structure. And so that they've asked us to support them, so there's some local political support. You know, I was reading Fortune magazine this weekend, and one of the things it noted was that the nation's fastest growing occupation is wind turbine service technician, with an anticipated growth of 108% between 2014 and 2024. So, you know, anything we can do to bring business and energy to Seneca County, I think is good. So I think our encouragement for this legislation is well placed. The folks from Apex came in and said the project can move forward if they get this legislative fix.
So what is the minimum?
It would be
Setback.
1.2 times the turbine. Is Representative Reineke's proposed amendment. And so it's with leadership at the House, and hopefully they'll accept the amendment.
I didn't have anybody come in and talk to me so far, but I'm in support of it, as you've said. Because like I said, it was changed once before, and then there was the battle on that, and whether the projects that already had options out there with property owners were eligible to move on and so forth, and obviously this was another thing that was stalling things out, so I'm totally in support of it, and like I said, I wasn't around for the update he was in for, but I'm in support. So I guess I will move to approve all the resolutions as stated.
Second, roll call.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner
All right. Any other new business? Public comments?
We have 11 o'clock.
I just wanted a clarification. The items that are on the
I
board there,
think we should have the 11 o'clock because then we can answer that after, I mean, if that's okay with you. It's point of order, Mr. Chairman, I guess I'll let you answer, but we've got that here.
So do you want to do them in session?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
All right. All right, we've got some friends from Corsa.
Corsa, United Insurance, all of the above, so. Just wanna hand out a couple of things here real quick. Pass that along,
Okay,
that along.
okay.
Thank you.
Well, since we're giving them paper, Brian, I'm gonna also,
So, pass out a couple of cards and one more to add to the stack and everything else. So,
All right.
since I won't be having to walk up here again and doing this.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Brian, I'll let you start off though.
Brian Smith, United Insurance. Dave Brooks, he's the manager of the Corsa program that we have the county's insurance with, okay? Since Shane is relatively new, I thought I'd just take a couple of minutes and just explain kind of how we got here today with the county's insurance program, okay? Some 30 years ago, counties were in a real bind. They could not find insurance. Property insurance, liability insurance for the sheriff's departments, engineers departments, it was just not available. I had the insurance at that time, and the insurance rates were going up dramatically. The CCAO got involved, and with Corsa, they formed a program for the counties. And the majority of the counties are now insured with Corsa in Ohio under this plan. And just kind of the whole purpose of it is, it's a great, stable program for the counties where you get the coverages that you need, and they maintain all the services of a traditional insurance company, claims-wise and everything else, but you don't get the surprises. The traditional insurance market, they kind of ebb and flow with whatever claims you have and their appetite to write municipal business or not. That went away 30 years ago. So for example, when the Hanson building went down 15 years ago, $3.1 million, we wrote you a check. Any traditional insurance company, we'd probably still be fighting with them over that. We got you a check. They allowed us to relocate that building to where the annex is now. They didn't make us put it back where it was supposed to, where it previously was. $3.1 million, your renewal came out, the rates were the same. Everything just collected, and that's very typical of what we've had over that time. We got a small rate, we have a premium increase this year because we added in coverage for the courthouse while it's under construction. We've got a few more vehicles, we have a few more detainees on average out at the sheriff's department. That's what added to your costs. If we wouldn't have had that, your premiums actually would have gone down this year, okay? The other thing that I just want to point out, and this is kind of a shout out to Stacy and Tanya, is that in this, you're getting over an $11,000 credit because of some of the proactive things that they are cooperating with Corsa on to help from a loss control standpoint. It's not automatic, you have to earn that. And they're doing what's necessary to get in, and I think they're almost at the maximum of credit allowed. So you're getting about $11,400 or $500 back. off of your premium because of what they're doing in the background. And you may be aware of it, but they're doing all that. So those are all very positive things. Locally, I'm the agent for it. I handled it for years. Dave is the representative. He started the program 30-something years ago. And so he's really kind of the fellow that wrote this whole thing. And as things have changed for counties, they've automatically put things into it to reflect what you need. The most recent thing is coverage for drones and drone liability. You know, most traditional insurance companies, if you want that coverage, they don't do it. I have to have a specialty market write it. And so they're really ahead of the curve with taking care of things of what you need that are really specific to a county. So that's just kind of the quick backdrop of it, and you know, why we have the program that we have for you. So, okay. So, Dave, do you have any?
Boy, you pretty much covered it.
Well, I'm on a clock here. I don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, we gotta, we got about.
Shane, you were down at the new commissioners training seminar, so I gave you the background course then. So, and of course, Holly's on the CCO board, and she's certainly aware of the program. But you know, the one handout that I gave you just puts in numbers what Brian just stated, that and you actually did get a pretty good rate decrease this year. It's just that you know, you got 36 additional detainees, and as you all know, on the law enforcement side, well, both the jail exposure and deputies, that's where the losses are across the state. And so you know, when you have 36 additional detainees and then 10 additional vehicles, and then the additional property values, that's sort of, the rate actually went down, but your some additional exposures that you know, were larger than average. So that's and Brian mentioned the loss control incentive program, that you are earning 100% of that. And then the other part that Brian, as far as the credits, the member equity dividend, and on there, that's a little over 31,000. You know, we're financially strong. We've got over 86 million in net assets, and that money belongs to the members. It's a member-owned program. We insurance companies return dividends to their stockholders. Of course, it returns dividends to our stockholders, member counties. So that's your portion of that 31,000 on the loss fund dividends. So that's sort of the story for the renewal. I do the one other thing that I did, and Brian, I don't think I forwarded that earlier. The stewardship report that I left there on your in front of you. It's a recap of how you've used our risk management services. We have a ton of services available, and that's sort of an overcap or overview of some of the services that you've utilized. The online training, that's the online training. It's just a wide variety of risk management services that we offer, and the online training is one of them. Over 100 courses that employees can take online, and you know, your employees are using those. We were in doing a defensive driving course for you. And of course, we're subsidizing the facility due, the preventive maintenance program that you're using, and we ran over 500 motor vehicle reports for you. For that's part of the incentive program as far as your fleet safety program, and then also you have any new hires that you want to check out the driving record before hiring, we can do that. So And then that's sort of a history here of the member equity uses down at the bottom that, you know, you're increasing, you're getting a bigger return every year on the member equity. So I think it's a pretty good story. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. And I just wanted to, you know, ask if Corsa is doing everything that we need to be doing for Seneca County. Anything to raise or any questions?
I have
I have a couple things. Brian, so you're our local agent.
Yes, yep.
Do you ever cost compare to other agencies? Have you bid against Corsa for us?
The, traditionally what we do is we bid out our commercial clients every 3 to 5 years, okay?
Right.
And I'm happy to do that, okay?
And we should.
And that's fine, happy to do that. To match the coverages that you have, it'd be twice what I have right now. But if you want me to go through that process,
Well,
I
you know,
certainly
I
can.
don't like to
I
make
certainly-
assumptions.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Dave, does every county have a local agent, or do some people go direct?
No, every county has a local agent.
And that's our designation.
Yes,
Is there a fee structure there that's negotiable?
no.
You
And-
pay a fixed fee
Right.
to the agent.
Right.
We choose the agent.
Correct.
Awesome.
And, you know, and it's, well, yeah, yeah, I think there's nothing much else to be said, so, you know, that's pretty well it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks for coming in.
all right.
All right.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Ron, would you like to make a public comment? Please state your name.
Question. On the board there, the total you have, the subtotal there, am I to assume that the two of you, and of course you could change your mind at any time, are in agreement on those items there?
I don't think you can really make any assumptions on it. I mean,
We didn't act on anything, but
yeah.
we were
Beyond
reading the same
discussion,
half the first time.
I was trying to get to a point of commonality, and I think we have a lot of commonality. I mean,
Yeah.
we agree 90% of the way, so we're, you know, but I don't want you to assume that at all.
Well, the other part of the question I had, and maybe it's moot now, is on the 15,000 for the videos, you know, on your list, one of the videos projects didn't have a set amount, and so I was curious as to, of the 15,000, is the 6,800 proposed by Foster Area Rail, and the 1,500 proposed by Foster Area Historical Society, are those part of that 15,000, and then the remaining, those two total up to 8,300, then the remaining 6,700 would be for the Tiffin Glass Museum? Is that your understanding?
Well, my understanding would be that there would still be decisions made within that 15,000 on priorities.
So that's not, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That was my.
All right, thank you.
Other citizen comments? Questions? All right. Seeing none, we will adjourn. 11:30.